So this Garrard 0100 has been kind of a challenge, and part of it is self-inflicted, other part of it's a lesson learned. So here's where we're at and what's going on. Trying to get this manual or the automatic feature to work, so it'll come down and set down. So that's not been the problem. The problem we've been trying to solve so far is when you engage the automatic, it hits the inner ring, it should pick up, and then set down, turn off. So I believe we've got that part fixed. So here's what was going on there. This piece right here is very integral to the automatic feature and the automatic return and the stacking feature. So when you hit the automatic, all right, so that sets, whoop, yep. So that sets it in motion, and then as this gear turns, it comes in and pushes this forward. So right now, if it were to go through the features, it would go through and come down, turn off. I don't know if this was self-inflicted or if it was just, the post itself was loose. So we hit the bottom of this with some JB Weld, but it was still sliding back. So we took some pliers and we just kind of adjusted the angle on this guy right here to where now the auto return on a single play works. When we put the stacking spindle in there, we come across the same issue. So the stacking spindle is supposed to work in such a way to where, all right, so this is engaged. So watch this silver piece. That silver piece pops forward. Let me zoom out. Why is that not focusing? Focusing on everything that I did. All right, cool. So that's setting down. Now there's no records on here. So that movement of that piece right here should signal to the mechanics underneath that there's not another record on here. So when it gets to the inner groove, get up. That's another issue. That's not supposed to go over that fast, so we'll go there. So it's supposed to sit down and turn off. But the way it's acting like there's another record on there. Now, the way this works is this silver piece right here, when there's another record, that inner groove keeps this silver piece from extending all the way out. I missed it on this one, but we'll see. All right, so let's go through here. All right, you're gonna see that silver back piece. See how it flared out? If there was another record on there, it would keep that from flaring out. And that additional friction is supposed to keep this mechanics under here, keep that piece right there from sliding back as far. And so that piece, oh, you can't see it. All right, so maybe you can't. So that's the post to the piece that was under here that had the loose post. All right, so it's got this little tab, and so what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to push that tab back and then signal or get the configuration to where that tone arm sits down and turns off. So, but if we do manual, stop and eject, it works just fine. And here's where I think it was the self-inflicted, because I think there's probably some still some old oil and grease in there that's causing that additional motion or restricting that motion. I normally use like 90% rubbing alcohol. However, I've been using 70% on this. So what we're going to try and do before I don't want to bend anything or get anything square like that. So we're going to take all those brass pieces back off, hit it again with some 90% rubbing alcohol to make sure it's good and clean. And I really should try and find a good solvent to do this one and done. Get it good and clean. The other thing I did differently was I used silicone grease, a synthetic silicone grease in those moving parts instead of my normal heavy duty, like high pressure metal to metal grease. So we'll go back to what excuse me, old knees. So we're gonna go back and do what has worked in the past on other models before we go down the rabbit hole even further.